CarMax is no longer in the S&P 500. Their CEO resigned, and if you are a KMX shareholder, you probably would have been better off investing in Beanie Babies. I recently sat down with a few CarMax veterans, some with over 25 years of experience, and I got all of the inside dirty details. Today I'm going to share that with you, go over exactly why this was all set in motion to happen over a decade ago, and we're going to get to the bottom of whether or not CarMax can survive this, or if Carvana is going to continue to wipe the floor with them. Let's dive in. Before we get too far down this rabbit hole, I need to do a quick bit of housekeeping. It's been a few months since my last video, and I'm sorry about that. I went to the store, I was gonna get milk for you, and I got lost, and there was traffic, and I got pulled over, and then I locked my car keys in the car, and then I left my wallet. I'm just kidding. In all seriousness, I had planned a few days of vacation after my last video, and then I wound up needing surgery, recovery took forever, and it just spiraled from there. There's been a lot going on. A lot of really cool stuff too that I will share with you here in the next couple weeks, but a lot has gone on. So I'm back. Thank you guys so much for the grace. I greatly appreciate it. I'm still getting caught back up on comments, so if you can give me a couple days here on YouTube as well as Instagram, I will get back to you. And without further ado, let's dive down this rabbit hole that is CarMax. It seems to be never ending. And I'm excited for it. Let's go. From its inception, CarMax was kind of a test tube baby. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's just not your typical origin story. In fact, CarMax started out in the back office in Richmond, Virginia of a circuit city under a secret project code name called Project X. And no, it's not like the movie. Well, maybe it is. There could be a parallel you could draw between everybody's having fun, then it really sucks. Maybe there's a parallel there, but for right now, no. Now, their first dealer lot was known as Sharp Motors, named after CEO Richard Sharp. Pretty original. This was a small lot focused on, people first, customer matters, sell cars, and make a little bit of money, right? Do right by the customer. From there, they hired a guy named Tom. Now, Tom was a wholesale used car buyer and worked the auction blocks. I want to say he was located out of Florida, and from the lore I've always heard within the company, and even whenever I met Tom, was Tom showed up and he was in shorts, I think a t-shirt and flip-flops whenever he first interviewed and got the role. Tom was eventually part of the plans to expand, helped him go nationwide, and was appointed CEO of CarMax. But Tom was not alone. He also had a guy named Austin who was a senior VP from Circuit City and had kind of co-created the entire CarMax idea before Tom came along with Richard. Now from there, Tom and Austin were the go-to guys within CarMax. They were out at every single store. They were shaking babies, kissing hands, doing the things you do as executives within a large company. And people loved both Tom and Austin. That was like across the board. The very first sign of a fracture within CarMax, and honestly what I think is the largest defining moment for the company as a whole, was around the time that Tom decided to step down and plan his exit. Now this presented two internal hires, both who had come up through purchasing. However, you had a difference of one guy named Cliff, who was a 20-year veteran, worked his way up through purchasing, was respected by everybody, and just really earned his stripes, man of the people, almost like Tom or Austin. Then you had another guy named Bill, who was just kind of a purchasing lifer, but really good behind a desk and really good with numbers. You want to take a gander on who the board chose of a growing, expanding company? Unfortunately, the board and Tom chose Bill. Because when you're looking at it, finance guy, good with numbers. I was recently watching a video in which Doug DEMURO and Tyler Hoover were both talking about CarMax and the bean counting, and that's about probably half of why everything fell apart, but that's directly from Bill. That's 100% a Bill directive, all day. Now Bill might have looked great on paper, however from day one he was out over his skis. He didn't walk the lots, he didn't connect with people, people didn't respect him, and that's the point at which the culture started to change. Shortly after Bill's appointment to CEO, Cliff had had enough. He left, he had put in the work, and he had the tenure, but clearly he wasn't valued. Leadership started to change. All of the true car people who had been there from the start and were passionate about vehicles got pushed out. Store visits became cold, and it started to become more about metrics than mentorship. Even the buyers started to become replaced with outsiders, people with no car knowledge or credibility and only had worked retail experience. I mean, literally hiring people from Target and places that had no bearing and knew nothing about cars to be buyers, and they would just give them a checklist and a couple hours of training. I've been through it. It's not very intense. I do feel like there's a little bit of a beautiful irony because CarMax years ago put out this whole Ship Max commercial where it was like, we ship your ship, and it was a bunch of jokes and puns. However, then CarMax itself is like a sinking ship. Ironic. This is the part of the video where if you are highly sensitive to slightly controversial, or well, I guess actually pretty big controversial, because like when Bud Light did this, that was a lot of controversy. And then who was the other one who did it? Cracker Barrel? Yeah, similar. CarMax had that same issue internally. Now, Bill really started pushing this. HR picked up on it, and it became so toxic inside the company. Whenever you have people who are up for promotion and are trying to move ahead in the company and truly spend their career with a company, but HR then comes down to the managers and says, well, this person deserves a shot, deserves an opportunity. We don't have somebody like this person in that role across the company. It would be good if we could show that. Now, who's in the wrong? Because now you have the C-suite and HR and people saying, well, we want this person because of vanity, not because they earned the role. We want a vanity metric that we can go show off and show how great we are. Is that really great or fair or equitable, or is that just projecting? And this drove out a lot of talent at CarMax, a lot of talent. And while all of this is happening, the company's core metrics were getting crushed. Fast forward to today. CarMax is off the S&P 500, which that's a big deal. Bill Nash resigns. I think he was given the choice to resign because of the performance and the fact that nobody likes CarMax. Now, Tom did come back into the picture recently, and he's kind of stepped in to help out and take over some of that C-suite pressure. But if you look at who is still there, they need to go too. Because you can't tell me that while Bill was out there pushing all of this stuff and not caring about anything, that nobody ever said, no, that's not a good idea. I mean, so like their chief financial officer. What about their head of HR? The finance guy didn't say, oh, wow, numbers aren't great, Bill. We should change this. If not, well, one, he should be fired because that's not being a courageous leader. And two, he knew. Same thing with HR. If the culture started to go to crap, HR should have said, hey, Bill, the culture's not very good. She didn't. So she should be gone. That is an absolute failure. I think a good comparison would be CarMax currently is in a Hallmark movie. Now, CarMax is the girl who had to choose between two guys. One guy is like a butterfly collector for a living and not really stable, but everybody loves him. And then the other guy is a rich banker and financially sound. And then she realizes later in life that she's unhappy and has no friends, and none of her friends want to hang out with her, and nobody likes her because her husband's just not that likable of a guy. So they get divorced, and then right now she's trying to figure out if she should go back to the likable guy who did the butterflies, but she's stuck in this toxic cycle with the in-laws, who in this analogy are the CarMax C-suite and executives, and she's still like hanging out with them, and they're trying to get them back together. Maybe the CarMax board should watch a Hallmark movie. They'll kind of maybe be able to figure out their ending and how to save it. I really hope that this helps fill the gaps that you may have been missing in the entire story of CarMax and why they're in the situation that they're in today. If you have any insight that I missed, please drop it down below in the comments section. I would love to hear from you. And also share your most recent experience with CarMax, because my last 3 have not been great, and it's pretty reflective of the story that we've told here. As always, thank you guys so much for your time. I greatly appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on the next video.
Said I'm taking big shots. Just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6-spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6-spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots.